Iran fires missiles. This is happening right now. So what is Trump's actual strategy here? Well, a military analyst just broke down what's really happening behind the scenes. Clifford May reveals what's happening at the Pentagon level. What he says about special forces operations, about how General Kane thinks will change how you understand everything about this conflict. Now pay close attention to what he says about unpredictable tactics. Watch.
Good morning. So what is your best guess here on ground troops? I mean, 50-50. Also, here's the thing. If you want enriched uranium, obviously you have to go get it on the ground. And I'm assuming Carg Island and other areas are going to be full of booby traps. So take us through some of this, Cliff.
It's complicated. And if look, I would say I'm going to go out on a limb and say I don't think there's going to be a ground invasion on the land of Iran. I just don't see the point to it. The only thing I could think of, I've talked to a lot of military experts, the coastline around the Strait of Hormuz may have a lot of weapons depots, that sort of thing. Maybe they want to take those and need to do it from land, but I don't know why they couldn't do it from the air. I'm not sure that they aren't trying to kind of fool the Iranians into thinking one thing happens and instead it'll be something else very different. The current Pentagon, in particular, I would say General Kane he has a special forces background. He tends to come up with clever and interesting and odd ideas that are hard to predict. For example, imagine him saying to President Trump, you know what we'll do about Maduro? How would you like this? How about we send it into his residence, some special forces, and we just, I don't know, arrest him and bring him back to a jail cell in Brooklyn. You like that idea? Again, I couldn't have predicted that. You couldn't have predicted that, the best military analysts I know. So I would look for something like that. Carg Island doesn't have HEU, highly enriched uranium, on it. That's elsewhere, and it's deep under rubble, and you would need some equipment to get at it. I don't think that's the case either. So there's more to come. You know, a very important bridge that was being used for military purposes was hit last night yesterday by the U.S. That's going to make it difficult to move. As you mentioned earlier, they're recruiting children in this, and too much of the media is saying, oh, they have young people in security roles. No, they're recruiting child soldiers. That's what they're doing. And when I say recruiting, I mean they're forcing them into it. So let me stop there and let you go where you want to go.
I kind of do want to follow you down that, but I guess to some degree, paralleling all of this is that President Trump is continuing to say that Iran wants to make a deal. It appears that he wants diplomacy to work, but is that really a foregone conclusion? Is diplomacy out the window? Is this thing ultimately going to simply be settled militarily?
Well, diplomacy with whom at this point? We don't even really know.
Okay, and that's another question, yes. That's another question, yes.
When he said, look, to be honest, when he says they want a deal, do the people of Iran want a deal? The people of Iran want a deal that will free them from the despots who have been ruining their lives, killing them, jailing them, raping them, doing all kinds of terrible things for 47 years. That's what the people of Iran would like. But the people of Iran have no control. They're hunkered down and hoping that this comes out in a way, I think, that they can have a decent government after this regime collapses, which it may do before too very long. Are there negotiations going on? Yes and no. There are no direct negotiations going on. You know, notes can be passed to a Pakistani diplomat, and the Pakistani diplomat gives it to somebody who says he represents the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. It's very hard to see. The president's speech of the night was pretty clear. He has very specific missions. He wants to get to the point where, if there is a regime, he'd rather there not be, that they can't develop nuclear weapons, not in the foreseeable future. No way. They are running. Their missiles have been destroyed, and their capacity to build missiles, in particularly long-range missiles that could reach Europe, could reach the U.S., that's been destroyed. Drones are harder because they're very cheap to make. So there's loads of them, but they're going to destroy as many as they can, and as many, and the regime will fire as many drones as it can.
Yeah.
Other weapons are also going to be destroyed. At the end, the idea is, look, we'd like this regime to be defanged. if at the end of the day the things are filed down a long way, that may be enough for the president. He'll decide, I would say, over the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Crucial. We were just told not to expect a ground invasion of mainland Iran, but here's the key. General Kane has a special forces background and comes up with clever and odd ideas that are hard to predict. He used Maduro as an example, sending special forces to arrest a dictator. Now think about what that means for Iran's leadership, and they'll hit that critical military bridge yesterday. See, movement is being cut off. Now here is where things actually take a dark turn. Iran is claiming a major victory. This next report reveals a stunning claim from Iran's state media. They said they shot down an American F-35, our most advanced fighter jet, but that's not even the worst part. What they're claiming happened after that aircraft went down. This is the report that has the Pentagon scrambling right now. Watch.
Iran's Tasnim news agency has now said that reports indicate the capture of an American pilot by Iranian forces. Tasnim reporter in Khogilia and Boy Ahmad has said that following the destruction of the advanced American fighter jet by the IRGC, the F-35 fighter jet, the pilot of this jet has ejected and landed inside the country. Further details will be announced subsequently, but as we speak, U.S. efforts as well to rescue the downed fighter pilot has completely failed. We do know that the pilot ejected himself, but news are suggesting that he has now landed in Iran and has been captured by the Iranian authorities as well. News sources to Tasnim further say that the Americans conducted a search operation using Black Hawk helicopters and one C-130 Hercules aircraft to rescue the pilot who was shot down by the IRGC air defense. However, the effort has completely failed. Iranian forces captured F-35 pilot after downing advanced U.S. warplane. Unconfirmed reports suggest that the Iranian security forces have taken into custody the pilot of a U.S. F-35, the F-35 fighter jet, which was downed by the Iranian authorities earlier today. This is following the destruction by the country's air defense systems inside the Iranian territory.
Now let me be clear about what Iran is claiming here. They say the pilot ejected, landed inside Iran, and was captured. They claim our Black Hawk rescue helicopters and C-130 aircraft tried to recover him but failed. Now we have not confirmed this independently. This is Iranian state media, so take it with a grain of salt. But the fact that they're making this claim publicly, the fact they're saying the effort has completely failed, this is psychological warfare at a minimum. But what Iran did next crosses every line of civilized warfare. This is from our own coverage, and I need you to listen to every word of this Iranian broadcast. See, they're not just talking to their military anymore. They're turning their civilian population with an offer that should terrify and horrify the entire world. This is the actual announcement. Watch.
May we have your immediate and full attention, please. Most esteemed and dear viewers, we ask for your undivided attention. To all the residents of the magnificent Khogiluya and Boyar Ahmad province, our dear, noble, and honorable people, we ask that you listen closely. If you manage to capture one enemy pilot or several pilots and hand them over alive to our law enforcement agencies or our brave military forces, you will be granted a highly significant and valuable reward as well as a very generous bounty for your service to the nation.
So let that sink in. If you manage to capture one enemy pilot or several pilots and hand them over alive, you'll be granted a significant and valuable reward as well as a very generous bounty. They're turning Iranian civilians into bounty hunters targeting American service members. You see, this is how you create chaos. This is how you endanger every pilot in that theater. Now step back and look at the full picture of what's happening to America right now. And here's what you just witnessed. Our NATO allies, nations we've protected, bled for, died for, are blocking American bases during active combat. France denies our airspace, Germany blocks our runways. Meanwhile, President Trump is positioning Marines for potential amphibious operations while Iran launches missiles at Israel. The Pentagon is using unpredictable special forces tactics. Iran claims they've downed our most advanced aircraft and captured an American pilot, and now they're offering cash bounties to civilians to hunt down more of our warriors. America is at war, and we are alone. Our so-called allies have made their choice. They chose cowardice. Now, this is the moment that reveals who our true friends are, and the answer is almost no one. President Trump is taking on the world's largest state sponsor of terror with one hand while fighting European betrayal with the other. Our military is performing heroically despite being stabbed in the back by nations that owe their freedom to American sacrifice. So share this video with everybody you know. They need to see what's really happening. The mainstream media won't show them this. They won't tell them about France blocking our airspace or Iran putting bounties on American pilots, but we will. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and stay with the Next News Network because this story is developing by the hour. I'm Gary Franchi outside the White House on this Good Friday. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and stay free.
The system controls information. Information control is power. They don't want you to see this. The truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now.
In Japan, I'm still locally owing allegiance.
Right, you have to follow the laws of the places that you go. That has nothing to do with birthright citizenship. All right, that has absolutely nothing to do with becoming an American citizen and preventing you from getting deported. It has nothing to do with any of that. All right, it just means that you're judged based on the laws of the land. Now, the laws of the land are we're gonna fucking deport your ass. All right, that's the law of the land. This is crazy. If I steal a wall in Japan, I'm subject to Japanese law. In a sense, it's allegiance. Therefore, birthright citizenship. This is the most retarded thing I've ever seen in my life. Your Honor, my client is American because he committed his crimes in America. This is literally the Saul Goodman level argument. This is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. All right, so Asmongold crashes out on this, and I think that everyone needs to talk about this because destroying this judicial cartel that's literally raping our country is a priority. Whoever runs for president in 2028 needs to put that on their fucking card. Get ready. It gets hairy.
I was laying in bed reading these arguments for birthright citizenship, and There are
no arguments. There is no argument for birthright citizenship. America is magic soil, and it transforms you into a new person because you're born in America. Sorry, that doesn't fly, actually. Nope.
Malding. Supreme Court appears poised to strike down Trump's executive order that ends birthright citizenship for illegal aliens on the Fourth Amendment.
I think it's probably one of the most unbelievable examples of judicial coup ever. All right, if you could stop this. There is no reason why someone should break into our country illegally, drop, oopsie, a baby plopped out of my vagina, and now all of a sudden this baby has American rights, has to be protected as an American. It's absolute insanity.
I'm gonna be honest. If the Supreme Court strikes it down, we need a new Supreme Court.
He's totally right about this. He's totally right about this. There is no case for birthright citizenship. That's the craziest part. Like, if this happens, we need to do something. We need to do something drastic. We need to get Mr. Bukele from El Salvador on the phone. We need to figure out how he did it.
The idea that you can have two fucking illegals that come over, have a kid here, and that kid is defaulted into America, she is so fucking retarded. We need to find a way to get
She's not just retarded, she's also anti-American and hates us.
her taken off.
She's doing her absolute best to destroy Western civilization because she blames slavery or something. And we have to deal with these people. All right, we have to deal with these people with chips on their shoulder because they're retarded and forever victims. All right, sitting here complaining about white people or whatever the fuck. All right, and using that little gay argument in the back of her mind, how she's trying her absolute best to destroy Western civilization because that's what the left wants. Okay, all right, I'm so fucking tired of making believe the left wants anything other than the destruction of Western civilization. All right, you could chalk it down to the fact that Western civilization is based on biblical values and they hate God. All right, you could chalk it down to that. Okay, all right, or whatever you want, whatever argument. They're communists, they're Islamists, I don't give a fuck. All right, they want to destroy Western civilization. All right, that's why Islam doesn't like gay people, always votes for the gay party. All right, every single time. That's why leftists, lots of gay people, always vote to import more Islam. All right, it's not like their actual ideology matches in any way, other than they both want to fucking destroy Western civilization. So when I see leftists at this point, I just assume that's their default ideology until I'm proven wrong, which I'm often not. So when I see her saying that we don't want to remove birthright citizenship, my perspective is she just views birthright citizenship as a fantastic avenue to destroy the West. And you won't convince me otherwise until you give me a really good fucking argument, which I doubt you will.
The Supreme Court.
It's because I'm right. That's why you won't give me a good argument, because I'm actually right. And no one wants to even discuss it from this perspective, but I am just right.
This is insane. Listen to this.
On being born in whatever country you're from. That's what everybody recognizes.
Yes.
But you also have local allegiance when you are on the soil of this other sovereign. And
What a stupid bitch. Did the people flying the planes into the Twin Towers on 9/11 have allegiance to America because they were on American soil?
True.
I was thinking, you know, I, a U.S. citizen, am visiting Japan.
Yeah.
And what it means
I'm Japanese now.
is
Yep,
that,
that's what it
you know,
means.
if I steal someone's wallet in Japan,
Funny example.
the Japanese authorities can arrest me and prosecute me. It's allegiance, meaning can they
This is
control me
crazy,
as a
dude.
matter
Allegiance is control? So, wait a minute. Is Johnny Somali allied with Korea? Is Vitali allied with the
Leftists don't even understand what words mean. Like, they literally just don't understand what words mean, and then they just make arguments with, like, actual word soup.
Philippines? Is Maduro allied with America now because he's in American jail? How the fuck did she become a Supreme Court justice?
DEI, ladies and gentlemen. All right, people were saying it's not a thing. DEI didn't earn it, bro. She's the diversity, equity, inclusion retard on the Supreme Court that's raping our country. That's why DEI is a problem. All right, DEI is a problem because at some point, some retard that doesn't earn the position is going to be in a position of power and destroy us. And that person is going to use her position to force us to have more retarded people get positions that they don't earn. Understand what we're doing here.
We need to have some way, send her back to McDonald's. You need to go and retire. Can we just pay her her salary and you just go home and don't say anything ever again? Remember, she wouldn't define a woman?
Oh, shit, I didn't know that.
Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
Can I provide a definition?
No.
Yeah.
Oh,
I can't.
Did she just say no? We're governed by retards. Please, for the love of God. Dude, we have to do something about this judicial shit.
I can also rely on them if my wallet is stolen to, you know, under Japanese law, go and prosecute the person who has stolen
So
it.
basically, laws apply when you're in those countries? What does that have to do with allegiance or birthright citizenship or anything?
So there's this relationship based on, even though I'm a temporary...
So a foreign terrorist that comes into the United States to blow up a building, he can rely on us to arrest him, and that means he's allied with the United States. Oh my God.
traveler. I'm just on vacation in Japan. I'm still locally owing allegiance in that sense, just by virtue of being in the United States.
This is crazy, dude.
That's absolutely right, Justice Jackson.
Another one!
Crazy. Why, these people, they're co-opting the largest and most important court inside of America to push a basically radical takeover of the country.
True.
It's a bad idea to have a bunch of illegals, an entire industry in China that's built around having kids and maliciously taking advantage of our laws. They're coming over here, spawning kids here, and then taking advantage of our systems. This should be a 9-0 decision.
Yeah,
And
it is actually that obvious.
the only question would be how retroactive should we make this? That should be the
Bro.
only point of contention.
Honestly, he's completely right here. See, as far as I'm concerned, deporting every illegal alien, that is the standard. All right, the actual discussion needs to be how do we denaturalize millions? Right, that's the real discussion. Deporting every illegal? Oh, that's fucking inevitable. They're all gonna go. They're all fucking going. All right, maybe not this election cycle, maybe next time, but at some point you're gonna push us too far. We're gonna elect some. We're gonna get a fucking Hitler. All right, look, I'm not proud of it. I don't want a Hitler, but you're pushing us down that path, guy. Yep.
Iran's leaders have rejected President Trump's ceasefire plan.
Is gone. Never in the history of warfare has an enemy suffered such clear and devastating large-scale losses in a matter of
They should
weeks.
give up.
President Trump touting the success of Operation Epic Fury, the commander-in-chief praising the U.S. military for dismantling the capabilities of the terror regime
Which they
in Iran.
have done.
The Iranian military is saying this about hidden stockpiles. That the sensors you think you have targeted are insignificant, and our strategic military productions take place in locations of which you have no knowledge and will never reach.
Yeah, Dan, thanks for having me. Look, a lot of bravado from the Iranians. I mean, I think when you're losing and getting beaten this badly, you resort to rhetoric because actions are no longer sufficient to keep you in power. I think we know where they are, and the U.S. and Israeli intelligence have eyes into everything. I mean, as we know, the Israelis have penetrated the security and intelligence apparatus of the Iranian regime for many, many years, which has allowed them to go after and take out nuclear scientists and top-level commanders. So we have eyes into everything. We hope that there isn't a covert enrichment facility, but if there is, we hope our intelligence community can find it.
Okay. The president also says that he will finish the job in Iran, and he said this about media coverage, that media coverage of the war in the U.S. has been so relentlessly negative that Iran's leaders may really believe that they are winning.
They do believe they're winning because there are U.S. politicians losing.
3 of my brothers served in the military, my oldest brother in Vietnam. President Trump is treating war with Iran like a game. They're calling the war Operation Epic Fury. These are not serious people.
Oh, but she's not the only one.
If you were expecting something new, you did not get it. It was a litany of lies that he's told before about facts of the matter.
Right, so according to these people, Trump has no plan, no way to get us out of this, doesn't know what he's about everything, but look who it is that's actually lying.
Yeah, well, that certainly was the media narrative. The president was going to declare victory, was going to pull the plug, and he was going to leave, and they got it completely wrong.
Yes.
And I think that Wall Street Journal editorial is exactly right. I mean, I think the media narrative is feeding into an Iranian delusion that they're actually winning, and that's making it less likely that they're going to agree to any diplomatic off-ramp, and more likely that over the coming weeks, President Trump is going to escalate and strike at even more of the Iranian targets to remove and destroy their war-making capabilities. So
that's exactly what the president said he was going to do last night.
Yet if during this period of time no deal is made, we have our eyes on key targets. If there is no deal, we are going to hit each and every one of their electric generating plants very hard and probably simultaneously.
But you see, the media, the president's political adversaries inside this country, they want to see America lose.
In effect, the media is making it more likely that we're going to have war and less likely that we're going to have diplomatic deals.
Well,
so
they
NATO
say
has
they don't want war.
Its nose is a little bit out of joint, but they're caught between, I guess, Iran and a hard place, right? Because they depend on this oil. The world should have an open Strait of Hormuz. What do you think about his calls to NATO to get involved here and help defend it?
They're stupid if they don't.
I think he's exactly right. Look, I mean, we've gotten incredible support from our non-NATO allies, from the Israelis, from the Emiratis, from the Saudis. I mean, we're getting great support from our Gulf allies who want the president to continue this war and destroy the war-making capabilities of this regime. And yet NATO, with a few exceptions, has really not stood up. I think the president is saying, stand up. We don't get our energy from the Gulf. You do.
Right.
And you need to provide actual material support.
Thank you.
Ships and minesweepers and things that will actually help clear the straits.
It's their
and get oil and natural gas moving to your markets. So I think NATO's got to take this seriously. I worry that the president is growing so frustrated with NATO that he may actually withdraw the United States from NATO, which I think would be a catastrophic error. But he's serious.
What is NATO going to do for the U.S., though? Here we are trying to use their bases to keep the whole world safe and to help keep their economies going, and they say no. It's like these guys are compromised, and they also want to see the president fail. How can we have an agreement to keep the world safe if our own allies don't want to see us win?
Donald Trump threatening to pull out of NATO because he thinks that Europe just hasn't pulled its weight for decades. Does he have a point?
He's got a very good point. I think if I was Donald Trump, I'd probably do the same thing. What we have to think about is the fact that European countries, including the UK, maybe us less than others, but nevertheless including the UK, have been freeloading on the US in NATO for decades now.
Thank you.
And when he might expect a bit of support from NATO countries, they've basically shunned him, and they've refused to. They've actually not just not joined in this campaign against Iran, which is a threat to us all, but they've actually been uncooperative in terms of letting him use a number of different bases in Europe, including UK bases.
Yep, that's right. They've stood in the way of something that will keep them safe and ensure prosperity for generations, for their grandchildren, and they don't even care, which means NATO's either compromised or worthless at this point.
Colonel Ken, what do you make of Sir Keir Starmer's comments today, clearly, in many people's eyes, making overtures towards Brussels, stating that the future security of Britain lies with Europe, not with Washington?
They can't defend themselves. How?
Yeah, our most important ally is the United States of America. And one of the reasons for that is because they have immense military power. Starmer can get closer to Europe as much as he likes, but he won't find anything to substitute for American power there. Most European armies are much weaker than ours. The French may be on a par with us roughly, but everyone else is pretty weak. And
here's another thing nobody's talking about, because Europe went all in on green energy. The second there's a little fluctuation in oil prices, their economies basically shut down. If anything, they should be fully vested in backing the United States as we go about this campaign with the Gulf allies and with Israel and getting rid of this Iranian regime, but they won't.
So yeah, all he's doing is reinforcing failure by cozying up to the EU. He should be doing everything he can to rebuild the relationship that he has helped trash with the United States and with President Trump.
This comes down to something else, loyalty. Many people believe that when Donald Trump was asking for help from NATO, but specifically from the United Kingdom, that help did not come.
Nope.
We know that Donald Trump is a man who does not forget a grudge in a hurry. Could this come back to bite Sir Keir Starmer on the backside?
Look, it's not a grudge. If someone's not going to help you when you need their help, it makes logical sense that the next time you need their help, they're going to say no too. How is this so hard for people to understand?
The countries of the world that do receive oil through the Hormuz Strait must take care of that passage. They must cherish it. They must grab it and cherish it. They can do it easily.
Yeah.
We will be helpful, but they should take the lead in protecting the oil that they so desperately depend on. So to those countries that can't get fuel, many of which refuse to get involved in the decapitation of Iran, we had to do it ourselves. I have a suggestion. Number one, buy oil from the United States of America.
Yeah, they refuse, man.
So much. And number two, build up some delayed courage. Should have done it before, should have done it with us as we asked. Go to the strait and just take it, protect it, use it for yourselves. Iran has been essentially decimated. The hard part is done, so it should be easy.
You want the strait open? Do it yourselves. So what does this mean?
Blaming us.
Well, there are many levels on which you could analyze this. The first is the literal.
That's what people want to know.
So we have enough oil. We don't need the oil there. If you need the oil, you do it. To which a lot of people have noted, well, actually, oil is priced on the international market, and unless you shut down American oil exports and in some basic sense nationalize the oil companies, control them, use the government to control who they can sell to, then what happens in the Strait affects us here in gas prices and oil prices because we don't control those.
But prices, yes. Supply, no. Doesn't affect supply, which is a problem. Australia's got a big supply problem right now. There are many countries that have massive supply problems, so the price is one thing. But just before we continue, you already know why people are moving to crypto. But there's a problem. Most crypto wallets plug into the same system everyone's running from in the first place. And that's why Rumble built Rumble Wallet. It's a self-custodial wallet that actually lives inside an ecosystem that defends free speech and financial freedom. No bank holding your balance, not even Rumble itself can touch your funds. We're talking your money, your keys, your terms. If you're already using Bitcoin and stablecoins, Rumble Wallet gives you even more power. There's direct, fast tipping support for creators right on Rumble, without the creators having to wait weeks or even months for random payouts. Plus, it offers on-chain payments in Bitcoin, Tether Gold, and USAT, so you can move globally without having to ask anyone for permission. And while most wallets stop at storage, Rumble Wallet connects your money with a marketplace of ideas that will never cave to censorship. So if you're serious about sovereignty, both financial and digital, this is where to level up. Check out right here, wallet.rumble.com, or search Rumble Wallet in your app store of choice. Download it, back up your recovery phrase, and keep your money where it belongs. In your hands, Rumble Wallet is a technology provider only and not a custodial service. See the full terms at wallet.rumble.com. Now, let's get back to the video.
If it's so important to you, you do it.
Right, they should
so
just do it.
Who's he talking to exactly?
NATO.
Well, this administration and previous administrations have expressed increasing, accelerating hostility toward Europe. And of course, Europe is ever more dependent on Gulf oil, and particularly Gulf gas, natural gas. And so Europe, you do it. And we asked our European allies to
from like
get in at the very beginning.
Or 19,000
and we're going to leave
all the way
NATO
down
because they're
to
not
like
backing
0.
us up in Iran. It's not really a real conversation.